Peacemaker Season 2 Episode 3 Recap. Chris faces more than one resurrected DC character in an alternate dimension. Peacemaker Season 2 is only a few episodes in, but it's already eventful. The premiere jumped right in by rewriting continuity and establishing a connection with other projects in James Gunn's DCEU. But more than that, it created at least two problems for the heroes to face as Argus chases Chris, JohnCena, while he gains access to an alternate dimension. Episode May 2nd have primarily focused on Argus, but it left the story on something of a cliffhanger as Chris assumed his doppelganger's identity in the other world, and that's where the series picks up. Episode 3. Another Rick up my sleeve, finally dives into the alternate dimension storyline properly as Chris explores a seemingly ideal version of his life, complete with his brother alive, a romance with Emilia Harcourt, Jennifer Holland, and all the fame he could want. The latest episode excels at moving each storyline forward, bringing Argus to Chris's front door, and complicating the dynamic between Harcourt and Chris even further. Episode 3 is not short on action, but with a tense confrontation set up for next week, the return of Judo Master, Hutlo, and the introduction of Red Saint Wild, Michael Rooker, a violent eagle hunter, this seems like only the beginning. However, Season 2 still struggles with incorporating all the characters now that they are no longer working as a team. Peacemaker Season 2 Episode 3 enters a new world after his drunk text to the other world's Harcourt. Chris wakes up in the other dimension, where the immediate difference is the presence of his brother, Keith David Denman. After years of blaming himself for Keith's premature death, Chris has a new experience of being taken care of by his brother, who wants to know where he's been and makes him breakfast. It's an emotional experience for Chris, who gets to hear his brother express his love for him, no matter what, after years of grief. The season has emphasized Chris' desire to work on himself and heal, and this could be exactly what he needs. However, this alternate universe isn't a perfect world. Seeing his brother acting strange, Keith asks if Chris is taking pills again, which Chris denies despite finding bottles hidden in his doppelganger's room. While this storyline is headed for disaster once Keith learns that this Chris killed his real brother, they share a sweet moment that propels Chris' healing. However, Chris' focus in the alternate dimension is Emilia Harcourt, who prefers her first name in this world. Chris hopes to reignite her past relationship with his doppelganger. He meets her at Argus, getting through their security checks with shocking ease, only to discover that Emilia's new boyfriend is Rick Flag Jr., Joel Kinnaman, whom he killed in his own world. Encountering Rick freaks Chris out, but he does get the chance to tell Emilia that he's trying to become a better man, and she seems interested, assuming he will commit to making their relationship work. It seems that, if the entire conversation were not based on a lie, the pair might have a chance. But interestingly, their discussion highlights the fact that, while the alternate Chris is considered a hero, the series' main Chris is actually a better person, at least now. There are many reasons why Chris is so intrigued by this other dimension, but one major one is the public perception of Peacemaker. People on the streets stop to gawk and take pictures of him, and law enforcement doesn't try to stop him when Chris jumps in to save citizens from an attack. After an explosion, Chris and Emilia witness the Sons of Liberty attacking a government building using cephalalol explosives, and not for the first time. Chris single-handedly takes out the attackers, freeing the hostages and stopping the explosives just in time, and all without his helmet. However, he receives an assist from Keith, who takes down the helicopter that the Sons of Liberty were going to use as an escape. This sequence shows how effective Peacemaker could be if he had a fraction of the respect in his own dimension. By making the other world so enticing, Peacemaker reveals a lot about Chris' character, showing how much he's grown since his introduction. Peacemaker Season 2 Episode 3 reveals a complication for Chris and Harcourt's relationship while Chris has undergone his own adventure. The remainder of the cast has fallen into the background. Though he has told Adrian, Freddie Stroma, and Adebayo, Danielle Brooks, about the other dimension, Chris hasn't confessed to them that he keeps going back, so for now, there is little for them to do. In Episode 3, they all wake up at Harcourt's home after their celebration the night before, and much like his Episode 1 scene, Adrian tries to prove his knowledge, this time about spiders, only to miss most of the facts. While the group dynamic is always amusing, Their scenes don't move the story forward. However, Episode 3 does allow Harcourt to provide a new perspective on her potential romance with Chris, which has been falling apart all season. The episode reveals that 3 years before the events of the series, Harcourt was sleeping with Rick Flag Jr., just before the Suicide Squad happened, and Chris killed him. This explains why Harcourt is so quick to pull away from Chris, and parallels the other dimension's storyline. While Adebayo questions Harcourt about Chris and why she ghosted him, Harcourt insists that the relationship will never happen, and now the audience understands why. While the romantic storyline has been slowly developing throughout the series, this explanation makes it that much more complicated. Argus targets Chris in Peacemaker Season 2 Episode 3 after Eagly's attack on the Argus agents. The organization is ready to escalate the situation, but they also express doubts about Economos, Steve Agee. Despite being Chris' friend, he has been assigned to watch the house, putting him in an awkward position. Sasha Bordeaux, Sol Rodriguez, hasn't been sure of him, which is why Argus entered Chris' house without telling Economos, and that is where things went wrong. Calling him from the hospital, she believes Economos tipped Chris off that he was being watched, which he technically did. However, Fleury, Tim Meadows, argues that Economos took advantage of his bird blindness and claimed Eagly is a duck. Either way, Economos' job seems to be at risk, not to mention clashing with his loyalty to his friend, and he is assigned a new partner in Judo Master, whom he's not excited to spend time with. With another dimensional discrepancy, Chris becomes Argus's top priority, especially due to the similarities to the recent Metropolis incident, which references Superman. Bordeaux not only hires Red Saint Wild to take care of Eagly, but she gives orders to take Chris alive if possible, and dead if they must, while sending every agent in the area to his house. The episode ends on a cliffhanger as Chris returns home to find Argus converging at his house, ready for a fight. Though Argus isn't part of the main action this time around, the tension is building, setting up a confrontation for the next episode. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more videos. Thanks for watching.